So, calling in from Vreeland. The winter is coming, that's clear, but it's more calm than yesterday. We had storm. So, I'll do it 3 times. Bridging continents, happy to see you.
This is Hasina calling in from Newcastle, KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa, and just being in the space of appreciation, appreciating water, appreciating Mother Earth's gifts, and appreciating my coffee this morning. Juliet checking in from Glenafricon in Cork, Ireland, and just in deep humility and a deep appreciation for what seems to be happening in the energetic field through prayers, through working with the Koji, through all the energetic field vibrant right now with our love and our prayers that seems to be waylaying or at least sidelining what could be really disastrous climactic situations from happening more at sea than actually on the land, impacting so many humans. And just in awe, actually, of this process right now. And really appreciating last night listening to Jyoti Ma's update from the Kojis with their process. They've now just finished the third. I can't remember if it was 7, 8, or 9 gateways that the Koji said needed to be healed on the broken body of Mother Earth for her to mend and to heal and to have her ascension. And they're now working on the 4th, which is the tongue, the mouth. And yeah, it was just awe-inspiring for me. And I'm feeling so grateful and so alive. Thank you.
Well, as said, calling in from Vreeland. I had a busy week traveling also here in the Netherlands, which I don't do so much. To The Hague. So I had Monday in The Hague and yesterday, bringing me back at midnight, so very late, long days. But that's why I'm a bit tired. Very different types of conversations, also because they're live, of course, but also different settings than when I'm in my Zoom contexts. So it's good to also experience that. And I can share a bit more if we have time and if we want that. But it does feel the importance of presence, because that was given back to me as well. discernment instead of judgment that I was being told, that I was being experienced like that. Tough questions that I was asking, but always from, they didn't sense the judgment. They could recognize discernment. So appreciating my practice for that. Doesn't always work, but yeah, I think that's probably part of the healing. And also speaking with Ansan, one of our colleagues that he's now been in Bali for 5 months, so I hadn't seen her live for a long time. And she's been so much into water, because I heard when I came in that you were speaking about water. And you now mentioning, Juliet, the sea, the oceans. Yeah, there's something that's there. That's attractive. So I'll leave it with that. And good to start my day here. Thank you.
Anna Marie, you want to share everything that you did want to share? I'm going to get my earphones because you're a little bit soft.
Oh, well, that might be on my side.
Yeah.
To share. Well, one of the things that I've noticed in these conversations, in these meetings, that was yesterday was a very small group, 5, 6, with Mariana and myself, and then 3 others that are doing a lot of work with leaders, as they call C-level leaders, chief executive officers or whatever. Oh, there's this beautiful bird flying here, a bowsert, which is a small, well, it's not an eagle, but it has this flowing. I don't see it so often. Beautiful. So sorry, it's attracting my attention a bit. Well, the overview, they're talking about that, of course, but I was asking them, do they notice and sense that there are, in these C-level leaders that have the courage to step out of their usual pattern and to change? And is it courage that is then needed, or is it something else? So we were speaking about that a bit. Also, because on Monday, when we were in a session with about, I don't know, 55, maybe 60 people around the Israel-Palestinian situation, and a Israeli and a Palestinian presenting their, very briefly, but still their plan for a 2-state, 1-country approach. There we saw, Mariana and I, that the leaders that were there, which were political leaders, retired political leaders, still active in the field, but then in kind of like other kind of groups, so not directly in the current political context, but still in the political field, that when a young lady asked, kind of like saying, yeah, here we're willing to listen to each other and to have dialogue and to see how and what we can do. We don't know solutions, but still we're in that process of, the intention is to really find that and have dialogues. How to get that across to the political leaders and the other leaders in the world. And that none of them really gave a direct answer to her, which could also be, I don't know, but there was this kind of like, because she was emotional at the end. She held it beautifully well, but you could see that, she had tears in her eyes. And that pain was very difficult for them, I think, to hold. I was sitting behind some of them, and I could just feel how they were kind of like, not knowing how to deal with that pain, and then going into all kinds of other stories that were not really answering her question. So that was something that I thought, oh yes, I've seen that before. How can we empower these leaders to stand even when it's so painful? So that's really something that I feel is, and just before that in the conversations, they were also answering, no, it's not possible, this is not possible, that is not possible, this is not possible, there's no solution, kind of like. And then another woman, a more, late 50s, well, no, probably our age, my age, more in the 60s, I think, stood up and she said, I think it must be possible, because with the Vietnam War, we were following a Quaker, we were doing it in a Quaker methodology, using the Quaker methodology of dialogues. And she said, my mom was a Quaker in Pennsylvania. And in the 60s, when the Vietnam War was just, going on, and nobody knew how to come to solve it, a group of Quaker women, a large group of Quaker women, bought tickets to Vietnam. I didn't know this, by the way. They flew out to Vietnam to speak to the American leaders there, and to say to them, look, this has to stop. We don't want this anymore. You don't want this. It has to stop. And that actually gave an impulse to the pulling back of the Americans out of Vietnam. It didn't immediately solve peace, of course, but it did change the situation totally. So that was a very good example of the feminine rising really powerfully and saying, enough is enough. We have to do it differently. So I'm holding that still. And I was trying to further explore that a little bit yesterday. And this morning when I woke up, that came back again. So I'm feeling it important also in our context, because we are with so many women. And dear Robert also empowering the women in Uganda. So there also the focus is on, how do we empower women? How do we go even beyond not only letting us as a species be more in the lead in getting ourselves organized, but also making this call and staying with it and not taking over. I don't think it's that. Sometimes it might be, but it's staying with it and doing it together. Because if we can enhance that masculine power for the good of the whole, I think that will go way beyond what we can. We need each other. I really can see that. So that's what I was meditating on this morning. And bridging continents for me, and then I'll sign it. We are looking at, Juliet, we're looking at what is our focus for the next half year as the Hague Center. And for me, when I was preparing that and looking back at what have I been doing this past year, where am I coming from, bridging continents, that's here as a kind of like home base, and then reaching out more is a vision and an umbrella and a tapestry below that so fits me, and I think fits many of us in the Hague Center. So continuing to that journey, and to perhaps even bring more. I mean, we're very much here in this kind of circle we're doing. I think it's great that we're doing these celebrations, but perhaps coming into what else is there that we would like to be doing in different contexts together. That might be something that we could look into, whether that's something for the spring to arise. Now it's winter time, so, but yeah, to look into that. For me anyway, it's a great thread, a golden thread, which I can see, which I can hook so many of the things I'm doing on into. So yeah, thank you.
I'll just respond to that, because I actually felt so on the same page with you when you said at THC we were looking at the half year, as Juliet came in, and I thought, oh, I'm not sure who's joining, and just thinking about, well, what do we have that feels like it needs to be in the space? And one of those things is, well, what do we want in the next few months from Bridging Continents? And then when you spoke about that conversation with the Israeli and Palestinian situation, and the leaders found it difficult to be with the pain or be with the emotion. It reminded me when I was part of the DRTC for Peace and Security, that someone, and I think it might have been Felipe in a breakout group, and someone also said it in the big room, where they said that people need to go beyond their titles, like if you're in the UN or wherever it is, because that particular person was in the UN, and they need to go beyond titles, beyond everything, to just sort of person to person. And I think that's what we're being called to do as leaders, and then extending that to as women, because women are always bringing peace and solutions. It just feels like it's the natural thread. And then one more thing is when you said the things that flow out of Bridging Continents. So Anna-Marie, my Bridging Continents little pendant, I haven't taken it off since, sorry, it's the same one that Anna-Marie has, Juliet. Yeah, I haven't taken it off since you basically gave it to me. I took it off once maybe, but it feels like it's so home, like this is the time, this is the space. And what I put in our meeting the other day about healing expressions and conversations to do with understanding, I feel like somehow that weaves into Bridging Continents, and I felt that when you were speaking just now. Hi, Lynn.
Yeah, just on that subject, I was listening to two summits last week that were both on at the same time. Kosher Zubair from the Global Economic, you know her, Eco Village Network, who's been working a lot with the UN and yeah, just the global situation. She's teamed up with Thomas Ubel, and they're working on the climate consciousness summit was bringing in voices from parallel to the COP29, bringing in voices from all different levels. And she interviewed a couple of Indigenous, including Uncle Anga Cow. And this other fellow, Tio Kani, I think, Ghost Horse. And it was just really beautiful to listen to, because theirs is so much kind of the feminine, the interrelational. So Ghost Horse was saying, for example, we talk about a collective, but that's still speaking in separation, because the collective has a container and it's separate parts coming together. He said, we think in terms of relational. Everything's relational. We don't use nouns. We use intuition. Our whole language is based on that. And this whole, and so it's such a shift. And many of the men, as you were saying, like the Gaza and the Israeli leaders, they're so tied into, and their whole identity, their roles, everything, their whole life is tied into an identity of hierarchy, positions, roles, as you were both saying, and trying to go beyond that is actually taking you, and this is where she was saying, she worked with the Global Eco Village movement for many years and network, and realized that you come to a certain point and you've got people with deep wounds and trauma, and these things get sparked. So whenever you're in a room trying to work out things, people have got these old little beasties inside them flaring up. They don't know where they've come from, but it can destroy these types of conversations. And I really see that the feminine can be a bit like a mother embracing, saying, it's okay. It's okay. We can move beyond that. And this is what we can do. And kind of taking by the hand, not in a matriarchal or a patronizing way at all, but in a very loving partnership way. As geese, they fly, and when one gets tired, then another leader takes on, and another. There's nothing to do with hierarchy or superiority. It's just supporting the whole in a container. And I really agree with both of you that I think the Bridging Continents is a very beautiful concept or possibility for this feminine energy, not female, but the feminine principle, to help to weave this time of broken parts. And as you were saying, you and Mariana were wondering, is it courage that it takes the leaders? And in response to that, I would say yes, courage from the heart, courage from the cœur, and also the trust and faith, which many of them probably don't have yet, because it's a completely different reality to what they've been in, which is protect, defend, keep to your role, protect your people and your ideology. And this whole, what's being demanded of all of us right now is like jumping off the cliff. And for many of them, to jump into a vastness of nothingness or the unknown is really scary. So they really need the nurturing, the caring, and the love, and the compassion, that we do it together, holding hands, embracing whatever it takes, but that we take the leap together in a loving way. Anyways, thank you. And hello, lovely to see you, Lynn and Annalise.
My apologies for coming on late.
That is so beautiful, Juliet.
Yes, really beautiful. Really beautiful. What comes up is a longing, and then maybe Annalise and Lynn, you can check in. I would love to, in this winter time, reflection time, perhaps, look if we could write a little piece about this bridging continents and what you were just mentioning, how this is coming from that feminine principle, and how yeah, I would love you if you could support me in writing a piece around that, because I'm being asked about that, and I think it would also be good Sina, if we make that a bit more explicit what we're actually doing as a source of inspiration and as a source of a place where you can trust and have faith that you will be held. Yeah, that's what we're offering.
I would like to add to that too, as we were talking about earlier, that we're helping to influence the field energetically. So we're not out there with spades or with, technology and whatever, but this loving cup that we're holding is, I think, like what grandmother Jyoti Ma and many others, the indigenous, are doing with their knowledge and wisdom. We're kind of feeding into that as well with our love and the energetics of sending out this kind of loving, supportive, feminine principle to hold up and not fight against, not be tearing down, but building up. And so it's very much a yin energetic level that we're working on too, which I think is hard for male leaders particularly to grasp the significance, because a lot of them say, yeah, well, what do you do? What's the outcome? Power of yin. You could probably speak to this, Annalise. Thank you. I'd be happy, Annalise, Anne-Marie, if you'd like, I can write something down and send it to you that it could be woven into, if that's helpful.
Yes, wonderful, wonderful. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, with that, ladies, would you like to check in, or do you want to jump in?
Jump in and check in, jumping in.
Oh.
Yes, so yeah, my heart is filled with a lot of love. I'm calling in from Vreeland. My name is Annelies. I'm amazed by young people. Just now I met someone who made a little picture, young women, of herself, but as the camera went up like this, it looked like she made a picture of me. And then I said to her, "Oh, are you making a picture of me?" "No," she said, "I'm making a picture of me." And I said, "Oh, that's good, because that will look beautiful." And then we talked, and she was on her motorbike, but I was touched by the openness. I was touched by the receivability. I was touched by, there was nothing in between us. She could have received that as a critic. Are you photographing me? Not at all. So I check in with that I've meet so many beautiful young people now that are, like we do. It doesn't matter what you do, but not being the, as Oracle Girl said, the slave self. You can do anything. And I check in that yesterday I had my second gathering, which is an essence harvest. So, and it's really beautiful. We use our creativity from nothing and come with what wants to come up through us on essence. And I really love doing that, hosting that. And it's amazing to work with people like you yourselves that are so open to whatever comes and are so flexible and so beyond, well, identity. And it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. It's more like the feminine, how do I call that? It's not only a sense, but
Principle, it's often referred to. The feminine and masculine principle, which is the essence of what it is to be feminine, or what it is to be masculine, but not with not completely detached from gender.
Okay. And it sounds also like it's what we all have in us. it's more nature's law to me, like that. And so I received that through men as well. And again, I want to express my gratitude for this environment and more environments, also your environment, Anne-Marie, that you hold for so many years and I'll be a part of for so many years, gladly, that we really move in something where I can feel that we all show up with that. So I feel this is important. I'm really grateful that I can use so many practices, not as a tool, but as an embodied creation and work from that. Finally, I remember Anne-Marie often referring to that, but that I did not had the ability to do that. I was not the owner of that. And I feel that I own it now. I can, well, if I be conscious, I can walk the talk that is necessary for being, well, maybe in the power of yin, or maybe in what's needed at the moment that we stand for that. I do not know. And it's also very much around newness. So this is also, I believe, which is Bridging Continent, about that we receive everything as it comes. So we hold a lot of not knowing. We hold a lot of, well, gently receiving everyone where one's at. And yeah, I feel this is part of the trust and part of the feeling safe. And even if it's sometimes working, but the softness, which is really, it's like grace, that's really, it's a radical grace. It's like, yeah, I feel this is really part of this group. And we still can work. But I feel for bioregions, for instance, that it's part of this Bridging Continents, but it's not Bridging Continents. It's more like Bridging Continents is including all of these kinds of activities, but it's not, that's the same. So, and I really, really try to make it one or something, or make it more like a collective or something, but it has its own energies. So that's beautiful to see that it's more like the nourishing care giver, maybe here, which enables us to act out when it comes in front of us, or when we feel this impulse going through us that we have to align or work with something. So, yeah, this is how I see that, and I hope it's taped, and then we can use that also. Okay. Thank you for listening. It's every time such a joy. Sorry that I'm breaking in. I'm so sorry.
Sorry. No, it was just beautiful. I didn't want to interrupt this flow afterwards. So some people find that really, we don't, but in other groups, I've tried to do that more because they find it so difficult not to speak straight away. So it's just so important to absorb the amazing energy you've just given us, and also what Juliet was saying, and now Marie, I haven't heard Athena yet, but that's my fault for being late. Yes, I checking in from yes, Kent in England, beautiful sunshine, skies that are a bit mixed, but then everything is mixed together now, isn't it? So, and as I was listening to you, Annalise, bridging of the hearts, because we have masculine and feminine in all of us, whatever living being we are. And it's just this group, for the time I have since I joined has just been very balanced. And it's balance that I feel is just so important. And when you were talking about writing an article, I was reflecting on, I've just finished doing the Peace Game with David Gershon, and I think a lot of us went in there thinking we're going in to enable ourselves to create more peace through the world. Well, we are all one. So peace and the world and us are all together. You know, we say may peace prevail on earth, but I mean we are the earth as well. So it's bringing people's focus on the fact of oneness in this group. I feel could be so valuable. You know, going out there to people, if you know, when doing the article, because to me it's opening our hearts, healing our own wounds, and then we can give out love, unconditional love and compassion to whoever is present in this amazing energy. So it would be lovely to include something like that as well, because bioregions are our beautiful earth, but also bridging continents is bringing the whole world together. And I do feel, as you were just saying, that we could be like an ambassador for that in this group. So yes, the article would be very interesting to compose, create. Thank you.
I'm finding this very interesting, Annalise, what you said about bioregions being included, but it isn't bridging continents, it's included. And then Lynn talking about the healing, you know, healing your own heart and coming in. I'm going to shift the language because Juliet, you were also talking about the collective is also, it feels like a container, not just, so I'm going to say the coming into wholeness and oneness that is already present. Like we get to tap into that. So it feels like we give our energy to all of that, and somewhere in the giving of our energy, we deepen that through, you know, the bioregional approach, ceremony being included, because that kind of deepens the sense of we really are bridging continents. So it's one, literally the verb, not the noun, not the name of our group, but we are really bridging continents through the bioregions. And Juliet, you once mentioned about stories, like bioregions isn't just an environmental or vegetation thing of Mother Earth, but it's also like the stories, the, you know, what everything, the energetically, everything that is there in that bioregion. So it's weaving all that together, and that also weaves into the whole conversation of how we, you know, coming through that feminine, that yin energy, and having these conversations, like, not that we don't know what to do, so there's nothing that can be done, but it's through being that we get to contribute to transformation. It's just all coming together. Yeah.
Listening to you, Asina, what also came up was that we actually are bringing into existence bioregions through our container. It's like the news stories that we tell and that we hold, and which are really real because they're really brought to the ground. We ground them really they are there. We make them alive to our eyes and our senses, and we walk in there and we map them. So it's important that we know where we are on the map. It's so beautiful. It's also bringing all these other beautiful ways of looking at humanity together. Know where you are on the map. So it's also that we voice our dream, and the dream can come into existence by voicing them. We attract them, actually, or maybe it's like a magnet. We are the magnets. And it's not to make ourselves proud of something, but it's related to that energy that we hold here, that it's a two-way. It's drawing it towards us and bringing it in existence. So yeah, they're already there, but it's also dripping in the new. So this is what I see in front of me, that the moment that it's collapsing, things can collapse, or things can get out of the way, or chaotic. It's not that we wish for that per se, but it might happen. Then we have brought in existence something which is already there. It can just be lived, and especially because it's also held by the governance of THC way of looking at governance. So I feel this is so powerful. But holding that as a dream and connecting that all. Yeah. So it's also very, really connected to THC. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Annelies. What came up when you were saying, I could see it so clearly, is that it's like Bridging Continents this group is like, when things all start to, they have to unravel in order for a new one to come up. But the first phase of being able to build a new is setting down the energetic roots, setting down some kind of blueprint of a vision that the energetic roots, so that it can be filled with the material roots. So I see what you were just saying. I could just visualize these roots being put in and amongst the chaos, because it has to happen. But then these strong energetic roots of the way forward. It's like the pioneers making, finding the roots forward. First of all, it's energetic, on an energetic level, what we're doing, but then that opens a way to be able, it opens the pathway to be able to do it then on the 3D level, on the material level, because you found the roots that will go. And thank you. That was very inspiring.
Looking at your question, Anne-Marie, what I like so much about Bridging Continents, and which is also promoted by itself here now, that we hold so many different languages, and also, Asina, that you just really consciously said, I'm going to shift the language now from the collective to let me recall it right.
Coming into wholeness and oneness.
Wholeness and oneness, yes, of course. And I resonate a lot with that. But this is one of the beauties, I believe, that so other language, the animal language. So this is why I could believe, because we are Bridging Continents, we also speak a lot of languages. So it might be that we are, for some people, an ecosystem and can hear us then. And for other people, we are an energetic bioregion and they can hear us then. It's more like weaving in both. And when it comes to clarity, then yeah, we just hold what I believe you, Anna Marie, as a so this comes to roles, as a founder, as a initiator, then you are the holder of the language. So what comes through you, then we probably work with. It's really open to me, but I love the idea that we are so unique and different here. So here's so much diversity also in language. It couldn't be more diverse. So if I listen to you, Harriet, Juliet, sorry, Harriet, Juliet, I'm so sorry that I do really not know where that comes from. I do not know any Harriets. But anyway, so I love the way you say it in such a different way to me, you know, but I can totally hear you. And it expands my outlook so much. Yeah, it's so rich and abundant. So this is what I had to say about that. It doesn't matter.
I just responded to your question, Anne-Marie, because it's something so close to my heart, because I was the absolute proponent through the UN meetings and the oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
No. Maybe we should voice the questions. I was responding to something I heard Annelies say, and then you went on, so I didn't want to butt in, but I felt I had to write it down just to hold it. But maybe we could just, and then you can continue. We could just voice it because of the recording. So the question I posed is, in responding and listening, would it be that we're an ecosystem rather than a bioregion? And Annelies said bioregion when she was mentioning us, and I thought, well, she meant perhaps energetic bioregion. So that's why I put that. And now, Juliet, please read what you said and then expand a little bit more.
Okay, well, I'll just talk. Basically, I was working for years, for the last few decades, of trying to shift things towards the ecosystems approach, which is a complex systems approach. But I see bioregions as the next step forward, because ecosystems was holistic, but it was usually non-human systems. So you were trying to get people to understand that we're part of an ecosystem, and that we need to work with and harmonize with the ecosystem, but the ecosystem's kind of out there, and yes, we're part of it, but it wasn't as inclusive. As to me, what bioregions represent to me is the human deeply embedded. So the karma of the humans, the history, herstory, all the stories that have gone on that have helped to shape the energetics of that place. There may have been that comes in, which was missing from the ecosystems. Ecosystems was approach in the global fora that I attended, was trying to move this forward, because my husband was in the UN working at UNEP for many years, and he was in the biodiversity place and sector, and it was all about trying to shift to ecosystems from our partial silo approach. But to me, bioregions is definitely the next step. It's more profound, because it's bringing in the heart, it's bringing in all those energies that the human has contributed to the non-human ecosystem, and bringing it all in as one. So we're completely intertwined in the ecosystem, which is not out there. We are the bioregion. So for me, that is a beautiful next step, which I think, anyways, I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Yes, I also feel that it's very layered. So if I can look at one perspective, I could say, when we go outside, it's more easy to talk about ecosystems, because people who are now in what I call, let's say for make it easy, old world, and are opening up to new worlds, they might hear that better, what an ecosystem is. Moving into bioregion, I wouldn't say it's, if I make it an energetic bioregion, then I would say the layer is that it's a phase, because now maybe it's still an energetic bioregion. But I see in front of me that we live in bioregions without borders, and that we really are holding these new communities and living that on all levels. So BEMS, I would call that: physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and energetic. So yeah. Both, still both.
I feel that there are two parts to this for me. And I feel it is both, because as we interweave our bioregions to really bridge the continents, we are one big ecosystem. And I think that it's also how we receive the language, and is the language really important? On one level, yes, it is to communicate it, but on another level, energetically, we all know what we're communicating, and it comes across that way. People receive the words in different ways. When I'm talking about ecosystem, I feel it's a living thing. It's not, and that's probably because of when I'm talking with Tom about ecosystems, we're talking about living things like bacteria, and and it just goes micro to macro. So we're all part of the ecosystem, but everyone doesn't receive it that way. For our experience of language is different. I don't think there's one answer.
Well, there's also, of course, in our world, an academic world and an academic approach. And I think, Juliet, you were referring to that time. We're now in this phase. So I would be interested to have a check. And to see how we're I know we had these conversations in Integral City. I just don't remember properly what we all said around it, and in Living Cities Earth, and I very much appreciate Danielle Wow's analysis around that. So I would, if we're writing an article, I do think it can help to discern. Also, because well, I appreciate what you were just saying, Annalise, that you really feel that we're being held in the THC context, and there we're being asked to hold more and other things, and how we're holding. So that's part of why I would love us to write something also for ourselves first and foremost for ourselves, but also to share in different contexts. And in these projects, like what we're connected with the bioregional activation ceremonies, where I feel we're through that adding to the field. So I said no to copy paste what's being delivered, what's being designed, although I think for there it's great and it could be a real good approach. And I'm really following the learnings out of that, and I just say yes. And I say I'm not bringing that here as a, we're going to do this, and that's not how we work. But I also just don't believe in that. And I can imagine that it's good to see that clarity at a certain point to support us all as we're trying to find other ways of collaborating. And also because with the Earth Bank, I don't know if any of you have looked into the executive summary of that. There we are imagining that when there is money coming in, and when it's going back into projects that bring it back into Mother Earth, because it's a bank for the Earth, that will be decided and distributed on the most in the bioregions, and as close to the people and to the Earth the people standing on the earth and working with the earth as possible. Now that's a beautiful vision, but how do we then do it? And so we're not there yet because, of course, we're still in a different phase of setting it up. But I am seeing that perhaps some of our practices and all of the huge amount of practice and knowledge that you all have here, that can really help us and inform us in different ways as we further develop these kind of ideas. And we're not there yet at all, because of course we also need to merge into all kinds of other contexts. But I would love us just to start or continue and make that more tangible, let's say, and shareable. And I'm also wondering, and then it's time, but I just want to plant that seed here. I'm also wondering if there is something that we would like to apply for an EU fund in March in what we're doing, so that we can also here in this container start to experiment and work with the flow of money and what that means and how that works and if that works and what that does to our container and our collaboration and the principles that we are now coming together with. And if you don't feel that that's the place, or that you don't want to do that because it's too much of a yang energy or something else, I'm also fine. But I just want to offer it as something that I am open to explore as we are looking at in THC what kind of proposals do we want to make to the EU in March for these partnership programs. Sure. Economy of love can be very yin, exactly, and how can unbalanced, and how does that work? Yes.
Yes, it's really important, because I've noticed recently people's fear, I think it is, their ego and their mind is there raising money for themselves. And I'm seeing things now that I don't think, and I question myself all the time not to judge, but there's a couple of things that I'm not going to name, but it's not serving the greater good. And people who are on that level are sort of jumping in and saying, well, those people can help and those people can help. And money, it's a really delicate subject, how people perceive money. Not, unfortunately, it attracts people in that aren't being honest with themselves as well. So it's a huge subject that you brought up. Thank you.
We'll unpack another time further.
Yes, thank you for bringing that in. As a holder of new money, I liked it very much. Yes.
Yeah. And it's time. So maybe we can do a check out.
Juliet from Cork checking out, and with a word of gratitude for all of you for this lovely group. Thank you.
Annelies from Vrijland calling out with open.
Lynn from Kent in England checking out with unity and love.
Hasina from South Africa checking out with clarity and love.
Annemarie Vreeland checking out, a bit surprised actually, because I had no idea that we were going to speak about these things. I didn't come with that intention. It just rose. So I'm kind of like, oh, wow. Okay. So thank you all for this. And yeah, see you another time. And I'm looking forward to, Alcina, to see how we can indeed or anybody, to how we can capture this and start to write together. Yeah. Thank you.